Okay, once again, good evening. We started with our broader topic, production management. In the first video, we were supposed to look at the meaning of production management and then factors of production. But there was technical problem. So after about 15 minutes, the video automatically saved. So this is just a continuation of that one. We defined what production is. We said that when we talk about production, we are looking at human economic activities that result in the creation of goods and services. In other words, the creation of commodities to satisfy human needs or wants. Then we said production is never complete until the goods or the services get to the final user. And the final user is called the consumer. So it is only when the goods get to the final user that production is said to have been completed. So if you manufacture goods and they are still at the factory, they are in the warehouse, production is not complete till the goods get to the final user. Then we came to another point where we said there are certain resources that are used in the production of goods and rendering of useful services. And we said there are those that are called factors of production, or others also refer to them as the agents of production. So when you say factors of production, we are looking at the resources. We are looking at the inputs that are used in the creation of goods and rendering of services. So we said traditionally we have four main factors: land, labor, capital, and then the entrepreneur or the enterprise. But we said there had been a fifth one. So that is not part of the traditional. We said traditional because that is what we used to know. But you see, research comes out with other ideas. So Peter Drucker came out with another factor of production, and he distinguished knowledge from the other factors. And we learned when we were talking about entrepreneurship that the human capital, the knowledge, the skill, the ability, the expertise of labor is even more important than the physical resources that we see. So in that video, we talked about land. And we said, when you say land, it goes beyond just the surface of the earth. If somebody is not an economist, if somebody has not studied economics, and you ask the person what land is, what you'll be told is that it is the surface of the earth. But the economists see land beyond just the surface of the earth. It is all the natural resources which we call gift of nature. So every natural resource that is a gift of nature is land. So we talked about examples of land. For example, we said the water bodies, they are land, whether sea, rivers, streams, whatever, that is land. We extract something like fish from the sea. So fishermen, very soon we look at forms of production and we look at extractive production and how it is related to land. So we talked about land. We came to labor. That was when we came to. And I said, as I even stand here and I'm talking, you see, I am using mental effort. I'm using physical effort. Number one, I've been moving, I've been writing, I'm talking, and I use some non-verbal cues. All these are part of what we call labor. So when you say labor, we are looking at the physical and then the mental efforts that are used in the production of goods and rendering of useful services. We can talk about skilled labor and unskilled labor. The skilled labor uses more of the mental effort than the physical effort. But the skilled labor has gone through some level of education. So as I stand here and I'm talking, I'm a professional teacher. So I'm skilled labor. I've gone through a certain level of education. So I'm using more of my mental effort, more than about 90% as I stand here to talk. I'm using more than about 90% of my mental effort than the physical effort. But the unskilled labor uses more of the physical effort than the mental effort. So if you go to the construction site, those who have been digging, those who have been making the blocks and all those things, that is labor. They use more of the physical effort than the mental effort. So we say they are unskilled labor. When you give out that physical or the mental effort, you receive a reward. In economics, they say that is wage. And others will receive salaries. So that is the reward for labor. So I said that's the physical and then the mental effort that is used in the production of goods and rendering of useful service. So every profession, you can talk about the engineer, you can talk about anybody, the teacher, the doctor, and all those ones. That is labor. That is labor. So that is for that one. Then capital. Now, the definition of capital depends on who is defining it. The way an accountant will define capital will be different from the way an economist, somebody who has studied economics, will define capital. Somebody who is starting a business, his capital will be different from the way the economists will define it. And we are doing economics now. This is the economic aspect of business management. Even though we are looking at the functional areas, factors of production comes under economics. So in economics, when you say capital, what is it? Now remember, we said land is natural. Land. We said land is natural. It's natural. When you say something is natural, what does that mean? You should understand it. If it is not natural, what is it? What is the opposite? So when you are looking at capital, unlike land that is natural, capital is man-made. So it is man-made resource. Man-made resource, which is used in the production, or in, let me say, in further production, because it might have been produced, but by itself it cannot have any meaningful use. You cannot use it, you cannot consume it. So it is used to help in the production of other goods and then services. So that is what capital is all about. It is man-made. Land is natural. Capital is man-made. and it can help in the production of other goods or services. So that is that. So for example, if you go to the carpentry's shop, there are some tools there. There are some equipment there that the carpenter uses to produce furniture and other things that becomes useful to man. So all those tools constitute capital. So we can talk about tools, you can talk about equipment, you can talk about plants. When I say plants, remember I'm not talking about trees. We are looking at the machines that are used at the factory. So plants, you can the dam that generates power, the Akosombo Dam is capital. It helps to generate power and so on and so forth. So that is what capital is. Remember we said land, if you give out land, you receive a reward called rent. If you give your effort, the physical and then the mental effort, you receive wage or salary. But traditionally, you say the reward for labor is wage. Land or capital gives interest. So the reward for capital is interest. So that is that. Now the next one, which is the last one, is the entrepreneur. Who is he? We have done that, so we don't need to waste another time here. Remember when we were talking about entrepreneurship, we know who the entrepreneur is. So here, to sum up, he is the, or she is the, or the entrepreneur is the factor of production that combines all the other factors of production to create the goods or to render the services. So he's the one that combines all the other factors of production. That is who the entrepreneur is. Remember, you cannot talk about entrepreneurship without talking about risk. So he's the one that bears the risk. If he's able or if she's able to manage the business well, he gets a reward. If he's able to combine all the factors efficiently, he gets a reward, and that reward will be, as you already know, the profit. So reward for the entrepreneur is profit. But if he's not able to do that, then he makes or she makes losses. So that is who the entrepreneur is. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our lesson on what production is and the factors of production. Remember, earlier I have talked about knowledge, and I made mention of the information, I made mention of the skills, I made mention of the expertise that is used in the production of goods and rendering of services. And we have learned that that is the most important factor of production. Until we meet another day to continue with our lessons on production management, just as I've been telling you all the time, you should read your notes after watching the video. You have your book, the Comprehensive Notes on Business Management, Book 3. Go back to your books and then you read. Remember, when you are through, you are supposed to make comment as an evidence that you have watched the video and you know what you have to do subsequently. Until we meet another time to continue with production management, where we'll be looking at what production management is, and then we'll also go into the forms of production and so on and so forth. Have a good night. But remember, this video is continuation of the one that automatically saved. Good night.